Hey, Chris Myers, Central Florida Sight Fishing Charters. A question I get asked a lot on my YouTube channel is, what kind of rod am I using and what's the best one? And since I don't know exactly where everybody fishes, that's hard for me to answer. I can tell you what I'm using. I'm going to tell you what I think is the best one for saltwater flats fishing. I'm using currently these Falcon coastal rods. This is the medium Gulf spin. It's a 7'6". It tells me on the blank it's for 10 to 20 pound test, 1/4 to 3/4 ounce lures. A lot of time I'm using lures lighter than a quarter. I use 1/8 and 1/16 ounce jig heads as well, but quite often we're throwing this 1/4 ounce DOA shrimp, and I like the action of this rod. Well, what I'm looking for in a flats fishing rod for general purpose flats fishing, that's for most redfish, any sea trout, black drum, or you could certainly catch bonefish on this rod, a smaller permit. Not targeting gigantic fish. We're targeting the average fish on the flats. I want something that can cast light lures because a lot of the stuff we use is small, and I want it to be able to cast far if I needed to, but still have enough backbone to handle and put pressure on a bigger fish if I hook one. So I would have no problem reeling in a 30, 35 pound redfish on this thing, but it still gives me a lot of distance on my light lures, and it's fine for catching sea trout and ladyfish and small jacks and stuff as well. So when you're looking for the best flats fishing rod for you, look for a longer rod. If you're fishing mostly in open water, look for something that has a medium action. We don't want too stiff of a rod, and I find a lot of folks are getting rods that are way too stiff, and then when they try to cast the light lures, it really costs them on their distance. And put the proper size line on your rod. For most flats fishing, if I'm not fishing around structure, I really don't need anything more than 10 pound test, because I don't have to horse fish out from underneath dock pilings and around rock piles. If I have structure, yes, I'm going to have to put heavier line. I could put 15 pound line on this rod. It says it's for 10 to 20 pound line. I could put 15 pound braid on here and do just fine. I could put 20 pound braid on here and do just fine, but I'm really sacrificing the distance when I start adding that heavier line. So if you don't need it, use the lightest line possible, and find a medium action rod that's at least 7 foot, preferably 7.5 if you have room for it. I like one-piece rods because they never fall apart when I'm casting. If you have to travel a lot, you certainly don't want to be carrying on a one-piece 7.5 foot rod. But if you don't have a need to take it apart, get yourself a one-piece rod and get yourself the longest rod if you're going to be making long casts.